Hello.
And welcome to the Champagne Room Secrets Podcast.
The podcast where two hilarious sex workers give you a peek behind the curtain into the adult industry via personal anecdotes, content analysis, and sometimes interviews.
Wow. That was good.
Thank you.
You didn't even read it. You just held it nearby.
I am Candi/Barbie.
And I am Kitty.
We're here in the morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
I made us it's like a caffeine mocktail.
Ooh, what caffeine is in it?
It's like this little drink powder. It's like strawberry dragon fruit.
I love that. It reminds me of a Canceled Places refresher.
I did like...
Oh, that's yummy.
The little bit of the powder, because the too much, it's very like fake sugar. So it's like, if you
Yeah.
do too much, it's just like way too strong. And then it was club soda and Sprite.
Yeah.
Sprite. Because I know you love a crispy, good
Thank
Sprite.
you.
I learned that
Sprite.
about you the other day.
Everyone has been treating me to a little Sprite, and now I'm like, I need to tell people to back off because I got to save it for bad days.
Because you've been sick, okay? We're congested. We've been sick, actually. And it's not because of other reasons.
Well, it's both. We need to stop talking about that habit on here because we're going to get arrested.
This is a comedy podcast.
This is a joke.
You're allowed to make a joke.
We can't joke about anything anymore.
The woke left. We can't joke about anything.
We just said we're not going to blow out the mic, and I totally just...
Kitty!
I thought you were looking at my feet. I wore socks.
Me too.
Okay, so I did decide I'm willing to show feet.
Okay.
But we need to set a price. How much would you be willing to have a foot episode for?
To free these tootsies?
Free the toes.
Free the toes. Listen, you guys, podcasting is expensive. $1,000 would go very far in paying for all of the equipment that is lighting and recording us.
That's really true. You've bought 2 cameras in the time that we've done
Well,
this.
I returned the first camera.
Okay.
I bought that. I think our camera was like $800. The lights were like $80. The mics were like $600.
Neon.
That was like $300.
It was 2 something.
If someone wanted, if someone wanted to like give me enough to pay off all of the podcast equipment,
We'll do one episode with toes out.
Do one episode with toes out. And that is a promise.
And I'll sit like this so they're...
I'll sit like this. I feel like a Dan Schneider sitcom when the kids...
No! For $5,000, we'll make a new logo, and it's just feet prints like Nickelodeon used to have. This is kind of like a casual episode today.
It really is. Kitty, do you have a champagne secret of the week?
I do have a champagne secret of the week. So my champagne secret was for last week, but we never get to it with guests, and I think that's fine. My champagne secret of the week is a holdover from our interview with Janie Blade that just was released.
Mostly on time.
Mostly on time. Okay, I also think you gotta stop knocking on our doors begging for these episodes on Mondays. It's not gonna happen.
I'm tired of all the comments.
The calls, the emails. Yes, we say Monday, but you know what?
It's Monday-ish.
Stop calling.
Stop calling us. Stop writing me snail mail.
It's really hard when you're like, Monday, 10 a.m., where's my episode?
It's really hard when you're an international podcast star and everyone just wants the content from you.
When we get that $5,000 and change our logo to a feet logo, maybe it'll come out on Mondays. Cece shows toe beans every episode.
Toesy wosies. She has the cutest beans. I know I am like biased, but her beans are so good.
Well, they're extra pink.
They're so cute.
Little pinto beans.
Okay, sorry, I interrupted you.
No, I interrupted me. My champagne...
I'm excited. These have caffeine in them.
I can't deal with you sometimes. My champagne secret of the week is sleepover based. I had a memory. I thought there was a better word for memory.
So you have a vision.
A brain blast. A vision from...
Brain blast! Okay, Jimmy Neutron, what happened?
I think the first time that like I admitted to myself that I liked girls was at a sleepover. It was my 13th birthday. And the party started, boys and girls. And we played Truth or Dare, as you do. And I had a dare where I had to hump a girl.
You had to hump?
I humped a girl, and I was like,
you guys were 13.
Whoa,
that's crazy.
This is...
Little kids are such fucking pervs.
I know. It was so bad. Oh my God, it was nuts. And it's so inappropriate to think about now. Allegedly, 2 13-year-old children did like a 1 pump hump in front of the other party goers at my birthday party. And I thought that was incredible.
Oh my God.
And then later the boys left and we had a sleepover. The girl and I were like cuddling on a love seat because you're small when you're a child.
Yeah.
And like that's where we were supposed to sleep, but I couldn't sleep. I was so excited. I was just lying there like fucking electric, and I'm like, what is this feeling? It was great. So I realized that I like girls at a sleepover, which is pretty classic.
Yeah.
That's my secret. Okay, what's your champagne secret of the week?
I wonder if I should have you shut your eyes. Yeah, shut your eyes.
Oh my god.
This just came in.
That's a lot of noise.
This just came
Should
in.
I look?
Look.
Did you order that like right away when the movie came out?
It just came.
It's pretty
yesterday.
cute. Oh my god, that's so funny.
You know, I pre-ordered it, so I knew it wasn't going to get delivered. And I'm like, oh my god, I bet they're like all sold out. It's gonna be a collector item. No, you can like literally still buy it. So my creepy dolls, my like shelf up there,
It's too fun.
They need a man up there. We need Ken. I loved Ryan Gosling as Ken.
Well, what a fun episode talking about nothing that is a topic for our show.
Everything's a topic because it is.
I mean, we're workers.
We're working right now.
This is work.
Should I get into this?
Do you want to talk first?
Okay, so I went on a little trip, I guess like 2 weeks ago. Billy Bob and I had a cute little trip, and I saw a client. And I don't want to like go into the session too much because honestly it was like pretty uneventful. Like I'd seen this person before, we hung out beforehand, we did this like weird little like immersive art experience that was like so bad and goofy, and I kind of knew it would be, but I thought it'd be really fun to go with someone and just like roast it and be
and was he game? Like he was
it was his idea.
Oh, I love.
No, he's so sweet. Like no, it was just like it was a really really sweet day, and you know we got to the hotel and we're like da 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 XYZ, and like mid session we're like you like take breaks and talk or whatever, and he was like, I feel like I'm having a religious experience.
Like just having normal sex, he's having a religious. That's really sweet and cool that he likes you that much.
I think that means that like I'm just a pussy type. I thought you were gonna roll your eyes. You're like, oh my god, this is gonna go straight to your head. I'm gonna have to deal with it.
I mean, that's awesome for him, but oh my god.
I'm like, you are way too nice to me, sir. Okay, so I like what I want to talk about next is not like strictly sex work related, but it did kind of like, it's brought up some ideas for how I think about just sex in general. And I had an experience with somebody non-work related. So this was on like personal time, unpaid time. It was someone I had not met before. And it was not great. And it wasn't horrible. I didn't like actually feel in danger. It was just one of those situations that like women know very well, or anyone who hooks up with like men know very well, of like they keep trying to inch you closer and closer to like going over your boundary.
Yeah.
Even though you keep you as much as you can, you keep saying like, no, like I don't really want that, and they're like, okay, oh my god, yeah, whatever, and then they just keep doing it, and they're almost like, and I don't know how intentional it is, I guess it depends on the person, but it's like almost like a little brainwashy or like a little, I don't know, like gaslighty. It's like, yeah, of course I would never make you uncomfortable, and then they just like
continue,
and then they just like continue, and you're like, wait a second, I thought you said you wouldn't. I don't know. It just like had a weird moment because like in my experience as a sex worker, I've honestly like never been, and this is only my experience. It's my experience for the past year. I will say this is something that happens a lot when I worked in strip clubs, the pushing of the boundaries, because there are such strict boundaries because we're in public and we can't do like super, super sexual things because it's like against the law and like whatever. So like this definitely happens in strip clubs, but you're not like naked with someone at a strip club. Yeah. Like I had like bikinis on and shit like that. And there's also other people around and it's like you're in public. I don't know. But like in my year of being an escort, I have not worked with anyone who has like push my boundaries, who has like, once I set a boundary, they tried to like get around it or like tried to like convince me of it. And I have like, I'm very selective with my clients. Like I'm very picky. I have high rates and I have a lot of privilege to be able to do those things. But it was kind of odd, like to contrast like the day before having this client that is like super respectful. Also like, doesn't matter, but like very hot. Like, you know, like it's like all around like a great experience. And then like the following day doing something in my personal life and then just like not being respected. And like it was like such like a mind fuck. I was like, what do you mean? I'm like, he was like very like dominant daddy.
Well,
I'm a dom.
Yeah. And I was like very clear on like, I am not submissive. Do I switch sometimes? Absolutely. With like people that I trust, like with men that I trust. Yeah. But it's like, you have to show me some vulnerability first. Like I am not someone who is like, and I'm not gonna try to fucking dominate you. Do you remember that guy in Hawaii that I hooked up with.
Oh, fuck him.
Wait, this is actually really funny. I never talked about it on the podcast.
Okay. This is another good example, though.
Yeah, so I was in Hawaii. My dad lives there. I know. It's like problematic. I know that. But my dad lives there, so I was visiting Hawaii.
Your dad's canceled.
My dad is yes, please. Someone let him know. And I was like out with like my family, and then I ended up meeting this guy because I was like tired of paying for my own drinks, and I was like, okay, this is like, because I'm also like, during the time I went, I was like doing really well at work, which means I was throwing around money a lot and like just paying for dinners and shit.
For sure.
Like that's why I'm so bad at money, because like when I have it, I just want to spend it on people. I love paying. I love picking up the bill. I love paying for things. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make some guy pay for my drinks because like fuck that. And we ended up talking. I didn't really even like him, and I was like kind of drunk, but I was like kind of bored, and I was like, I don't know, I could go hook up with this guy, whatever. He comes back to the place I was staying, and we kind of like making out, and I think I made like a joke about being dominant, which I am, but I just like made some kind of like offhanded thing. Again, I don't totally remember. And then he stops and he's like, well, I'm not submissive. And I'm like, sir, you are not paying me to dominate you. Like, I don't know what you think is going to happen right now. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I was like bit him or something. Anything I did, it was like kind of playful. Yeah. It was never like, get on your knees and suck my toes. It wasn't like anything like that. And like, I'm sorry, sir. Look at the situation right now. Look at you and look at me. What is like, this is a gift.
Yeah, well, and you weren't saying you have to be submissive for this to continue to happen. You're just sharing something about you to see if it works.
Right. I was just like sharing stuff, and
make it a little more fun for you.
He got so uncomfortable, and he's like, well, I'm not submissive. Like, fuck this. And he left.
He didn't even let it be a conversation.
No.
He was just like, there's no way this is going forward.
Yeah. Even though I just like, I was not trying to do anything kinky. I was not whatever. But like, and maybe it was the same, the boundaries thing. Maybe he like was like, oh my God, this woman is like too, I don't know, like strong, and like maybe just strong in general. Just be like, because I am very commanding. Not to say I'm always like a dominant, but I am very like, hey, I like XYZ, and I'm very like honest with people.
Well, and that's not very common in like hookup culture.
Yes.
I will say.
Yeah.
I feel like hookup culture often doesn't have like super clear communication around what you want, what you don't, what's pleasurable, what's not. And
And like through this work, I'm like, that's the whole fucking job of being an escort. I'm like, I'm constantly like, okay, what are all your things that you like and don't like? Here's all my things that I like and don't like. And let's like make those work in a way that's like a service to you. Like,
and make it a good enough time.
So it's just weird because like, I have not had this experience, I don't think, in the Bay Area. I mean, these are all like instances where I traveled. That's true. Which is interesting.
Well, also, question. Did both of them know that you were a worker?
So the guy from a few weeks ago did. The guy from Hawaii, yes, I think so. Because I don't shut the fuck up.
You're not quiet about it. I'm just, because I'm wondering if that also changes like how a man will approach you. I do think like there's a lot of sexism tied into horophobia.
Yeah. No, I see what you're saying, and like I'm not totally sure because in both situations I was on substances, so my brain was not the clearest.
Fair, but that's also like makes it a little darker, you know?
Yeah, well, because it's like, dang, like if I was more on these substances and like less able to communicate, I don't know. Like, exactly. I've been very lucky as like, I've never dealt with sexual assault. I've had like a few like close calls that like literally I have like lied and like ran away or gotten out of. Yeah. But I think that's like rare. Like, I think like most people.
I think a lot of people go through experiences that are related to assault, and it's an awful, horrible thing.
It is.
But it is like, it's not always the really overt thing you see a lot in like movies and TV.
No, yeah.
A lot of the times it starts with, or just is, that constant like pushing of boundaries, and it's just nuts. It's just nuts.
Like, I had a friend recently, we hung out, and she was telling me about this guy she was seeing, and then mentioned how like, I was kind of mad at him because, you know, like I had told him one night when he was over I didn't really want to have sex, and then like a massage was happening, and then he was like initiating sex, and she's like,
that's so fucking annoying.
She's like, well, like I wasn't like assault, but like I just went along with it. I'm like,
that's not, but that's the whole thing, is like, I think people who like to have sex with men are socialized to go along with things.
Right. It's easier just to go along with it than to sit there and assert your boundaries and be kind of a bitch. Or
It's also more dangerous to be assertive.
It is. And also, like, when you start to be assertive and have that denied, then it's like, okay, now you're being assaulted.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like
that's like,
it's like the in between. You're like, I don't
Yeah.
want to be assaulted, so I'm just gonna dissociate and be okay with it happening, so I don't have that experience of being
and
assaulted.
I can deal with those feelings later.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've been kind of in both
Uh-huh.
corners of like the boundaries pushing, and you kind of just not necessarily choose to go with it, but maybe that's like the most comfortable
Right.
comfortable adjacent.
Well, it's
not
a path
comfortable.
of least
It's
resistance.
a way of going through it, or having like been assertive. Sometimes that goes fine, sometimes it doesn't, and neither is fucking good. But the problem is the person constantly pushing boundaries.
Right.
And that's bonkers.
And it's just crazy because, like, I had this, like, great date with a client who would, like, as far as I know, I've seen him a few times, like, would never dream of doing that, and kind of, like, lets me lead. And I'm not saying you always, like, in, like, you know, heterosexual, sexual situations, you always, like, need to, like, let the woman lead or whatever. But it was just so, like, I'm obviously the one who, like, doesn't have power in the situation because I'm smaller and I'm not that strong and I'm like whatever. So I just feel like in situations like that, like whoever's like physically not as willing to protect themselves, like you should kind of let them lead. Like
This is a whole conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end, it's consent at the end of the day, but also like, I feel like in hookup situations, hookup culture in general, there's less conversation about consent. There's less conversation about like understanding power dynamics, and it's really gross. I do think like the whole like I'm a dom man thing,
I'm a dom, you see.
it's
so
it's
fucking
so-
cringe. And like you did not, like, I don't care. Like I have met doms, like male doms that are fucking great and
Yeah.
we're like friendly and friends and like that's awesome. It's like, do I want them to dominate me? Not really, but like
Yeah.
I love that that's a thing. And because I do know women who are super submissive and want that, and so
Yeah.
it's great that that is available to them. I'm like, that's fucking beautiful.
Yeah.
You feel safe to like be, because like being in subspace and doing all these things is like so like special to a lot of people. That's not my experience at all. But like I can see that it's someone else's experience. So I appreciate it as a thing. But when like this man kept saying like good girl, and I would constantly be like, don't call me that. I'm not your good girl. It was just like so gross. And he would just like reach to touch me. I'm like, no. He was like trying to like go down on me. And then I was like, what are you doing? And he was like, well, I'm going to like go down on you. And I was like, did you ask? And he's like, can I go down on you? I'm like, no. And I was like, sir, what are you doing? It was like, I have had to like the past like hour, 2 hours, I have to constantly be like, stop, don't do that. Don't grab me there, whatever. And like, I feel like I'm unique and I'm able to do that. Like, also like in the situation, I don't want to go too much into the context, but the context allowed me to like be a little more bitchy because I didn't actually feel in danger, but it was just like exhausting.
Yeah.
It was exhausting. I'm like, what is not clicking? And he kept kind of trying to it felt like he was like trying to treat me like I'm trying to impress him. I'm like,
maybe he thought it was like a brat taming situation.
But it's like, we didn't talk about that. Like I told him.
Also, you're not acting that way.
No.
You're not being a brat versus just saying no are completely different things.
Yeah, I wasn't like, no. I was
Well,
like, no. I know.
That would be fucking annoying. But
no, I know that. But like, I just was very much like, don't do that.
yeah.
Don't talk to me about that. Like, did I say you could do that? No. And he was like nagging me. This was like earlier in the night. And I was like, why are you nagging me? Like, this is, I guess it's a thing where like when I have clients, they like treat me like I'm like a goddess, like that they are blessed that I'm in their presence. And I'm not saying like I'm actually that important, just like that. And then when I am with a man who's not even like paying me to be around him, he's approaching the situation like he's the god and I'm lucky to be around him. I'm like, I'm sorry, sir.
That's very very entitled.
It's so entitled and weird.
Thinking specifically of like dominant men who push boundaries, which goes like fully against like often their stated philosophy, which is really fucking annoying. It's like an embarrassing theme. It's so embarrassing. And I feel like I mean, it was definitely more popular with men in general when I was really engaged in being submissive.
Yeah.
And I've had great experiences with dominant men. And a lot of the times it's because they don't approach, or like one of my like early dating experiences, the first time I kissed a boyfriend who I had for on and off for a couple of years, he did something that was like technically not appropriate, but made sense. Like, we were having our first kiss. I remember he like held the back of my head and then like slowly started to pull my hair, and I pulled away and he was like, is that okay? And I was like, oh, like I fucking loved it. And I realized like that's not totally appropriate, but that was an easy transition into like building a dynamic in which he was dominant and I was submissive.
Yeah.
And like there's been something small and subtle like that, and I do think if I said no, he would have stopped, which is great.
Yeah.
And he would have
Because it is like kind of a testy boundary.
It was a testy boundary thing, but it was like a very slow thing where like I would have had the chance to stop it at some point.
Yeah.
That's a weird testy boundary thing that just happened to work. But then I've had like engaged in play with a dominant person. We had agreed upon terms, very consent driven, even like someone known for being a dominant person, and still like pushed my boundaries and made situations like really uncomfortable and really bad. And it just like doesn't make sense for me. I don't feel at all comfortable doing that when I'm dominant. I'm almost like a little tentative because I'm not even that confident yet in being dominant with people that are new in my life. But I've never had a queer person, the gender queer spectrum people or women have never done that when I've engaged in play with them.
I will say my scenario was a group situation, and the other woman involved, anytime she was about to lay a hand on me, she would ask my consent. Even just like, oh, can I touch your hair? Can I touch your arm? And to contrast this with this like man who was just so like assuming that I was going to fall into place, even though I gave no indication. It was just exhausting. And I'm like, what is going on right now? Like, why is the power not working? Like, why do I feel so powerful and so in control of these situations where men are literally paying to be in my presence? And I feel so respected and safe in a job where so many people are like, oh my God, are you safe? Like, and I get it. Like, well, human trafficking, blah, blah, blah.
There's a lot
but like,
of layers.
all the time, people, when I tell them what I do, if I open up and they're like, well, do you feel safe? Like, do you share your location? Like, all these fucking things. And I'm like, I feel the most safe with someone paying for me and not like with a random fucking man who could overpower me if he decides I'm actually being too much of a brat and he's actually going to overpower me and actually going to take what he wants. I don't feel like that with clients.
Yeah.
And it's just like kind of crazy because I've been like ruminating on this experience since then. And I talked to my therapist about it, and I'm just like, it just is like weird because it almost like breaks this like idea I have in myself because I feel so powerful in queer spaces, which we exist in a lot, and in my work, that like the idea of like someone kind of chipping away at that, like, oh God, shit, I guess I am kind of vulnerable. Like, I guess I am like not as strong as I think I am, like physically, like, you know, because this man was not listening to me.
You know what? I will say I have a similar thing, and it's even more broad because again, most of our social time, and we spend a lot of time together, and when we don't spend time together, we usually know the other people that we're hanging out with.
I have you on location. I'm like, where's Kitty?
Why'd you lie to me? We have like a almost circle overlap of friends at this point in our lives. And when we're hanging out, it's with close friends in safe spaces, or we go to queer spaces, mostly places we already know. Yeah. And like my whole life is kind of built around my comfort as a queer person. And so when I have to go out into these exterior realms, I am appalled with people's behavior. People are so fucking rude. And like, I don't interact with a lot of men in general. That doesn't involve work. Yeah. And I'm just like, I'm blown away. I'm blown away with how people exist in this world. They're so fucking rude. Boundaries don't fucking exist for some people. And it drives me insane.
Because then also you're getting into dominant work where like you are also
liable essentially for people's boundaries. Like,
that's true.
You absolutely have to respect people's boundaries. And I will say I've gotten boundary pushing in the 2 whole sessions I've done, and it's always about eating pussy.
Oh, they want to do that.
Both of them really wanted to eat me out, and I'm like, the underwear's on for a reason. I don't want that. First of all, because you're gonna be bad at it.
Listen, I have my hot take on going down. I think it's gross when guys are too into it. I think it's like weird and icky. Yeah. Why do you like it that much? I'm not like a sandwich. Some people are just too into it, and I think it's either because like you're gross and you're treating me like an object, or you're gonna win some kind of like award for being good at it, for like making me come, and I'm like, that's not gonna happen.
This is a very interesting take, and I don't know what to say because I like to do that. but I'm not a man. I like it in a gay way, but you just don't really like that.
I don't like receiving it.
And that's fine.
I just feel disconnected and weird.
Yeah.
And then it's like,
disconnected.
yeah.
Yeah. I think for me, it icks me out because I feel like they're trying to flip the power dynamic.
And that's different for you too, because you have such a strong power dynamic in your bookings.
That's true. That's supposed to be how it is.
Yeah.
And I do think maybe sometimes they're thinking of it as service, but I'm like, first of all, we didn't agree on it.
No.
It's always in the last 10 minutes.
You're like, and that's for you. Like, I don't want that. Like, that's for you.
It's for you, and I don't want that. And if it was something agreed upon, maybe. I mean, like, face sitting and, like, smothering and stuff, that makes sense in the context.
Yeah. I always feel like it's selfish. I feel like when guys are very passionate about going down on you, it's selfish. Like, I think it's selfish. It gives me the ick. I don't like it.
That's very funny to me.
Because they ask me if I want it. I say no. And then they keep pushing. And I'm like, and this is like, not like pushing in a boundaries way.
But saying like, oh,
it's
I'm going to be so fucking
good. Are you
good.
sure you don't? Like, I'm really good at it. I'm like, no, you just want to do it because you want to do it. I don't want you to do it.
Yeah.
You're not even asking me what I want you to do because you think like most women like this, which maybe they do. Maybe like I'm an outlier, but it's like if I say I'm not that into it, then stop offering it to me.
Yeah.
I'll tell you if I want you to do it.
I guess in general, I really don't like it when a man's like, I'm going to make you feel so good. Because I'm like, I think I've slept with...
What's your body count?
If I think about like people who are cis men and probably still feel that way today.
Yeah.
Maybe 40, but that was also a very short amount of time.
That's honestly impressive. My body count was very low before I started sex work.
Well, you know what?
I think it was like 13, and that's like with couples.
That counts though, because I'm counting people that I've had threesomes with. And there's a lot of talk of, I'm going to make you feel so good. And granted, like, we were all probably a bit younger at that time. And it was so rare for anyone to match their talk.
No.
It's the ones that move in silence.
Exactly.
I think about it sometimes, like thinking about dating men, but I do think they like me a lot less these days. First of all, because I'm not 19, you nasties. I'm bigger. My look is more alternative. I definitely lean more dominant. I have a queer gender situation.
You're also a bad bitch.
Weird. But like men just don't like me that much anymore. And maybe it's because I put off the vibe of I fucking hate them.
Yeah.
But
you do give off that vibe.
I think about it sometimes and I think about, man, it would take a real special one to get me excited to leave the house.
I know. It's kind of weird when like on TikTok and all these like women are just like up in arms about like being single or like these men doing this and that. I'm like, you could not fucking pay me to be that upset about a man. Most men can't even clean their fucking ass. Like, what? Girl, stop.
Yeah.
I need to take you to a gay bar right the fuck now. I'm gonna find you a hot femme or a hot butch. I don't know, whatever you're into, we'll figure it out. Here's the thing, I don't really believe in straight people.
Yeah.
People talk about bi erasure. No, straight erasure. That's my platform. And this sounds like very much like the other side's argument, but I do feel like you choose to be straight. I feel like everyone is born gay and you're choosing to be like straight, like vanilla, like all these like things that are kind of like heteronormative or hegemonic ideals. Like I feel like you choose to live life that. Here's my thing. You're fun or you're not fun. Most straight people are not fun. And that's why I don't want to hang out with them.
That's the true binary.
It is. We need to fix this.
Yeah.
We need to fix this right now.
And
come make out with me.
And that's our presidential platform.
We need to make all women gay. I will say really quick going back, well not really going back, we like continue. I think like the also like going down, like the eating pussy thing.
Yeah. I
hate when someone presents something like they're doing a favor for you, but it's just what they want to do.
Exactly.
It's like, no. And this goes with anything. It go like, Billy Bob used to call me out a lot for this because I'd like ask him to do stuff for me. And I would try to like convince him that's like a good idea. He's like, you just want me to do a favor. Just say it and say thank you. But like, I'm a Scorpio, so I'm always trying to like
manipulate.
But like, I think it'd be really good if we, bought a bunch of like bulk rice for our kitchen and like, it would really help the economy and all these things. He's like, just say you want me to buy a bunch of, just say it. Just say that's what you want and I'll make it happen. But don't like pretend like you've thought of this thing is actually really good for me. And
it's really fucking annoying. Just be straightforward.
Just be straightforward. And it's like,
hard.
if someone tells you they don't like something,
yeah,
just believe them. And then if they actually come up later, it's like, actually, like, I kind of like this play thing where I say I'm not into this, but like, I kind of want you to push my boundary. That is safe and totally fine. But like, have that fucking conversation. And we're just like not having these like heavy consent conversations with normal unpaid hookups.
Okay.
Okay,
We talked a lot.
We talked a lot. We're going to have a little palate cleanser.
So we've got a listener story. And I just want to clarify, these are worker stories, not client stories.
Right now, we are only interested in sex worker stories.
I think it's cool that people who are clients listen, and I love that. And maybe that's something we'll be interested in later. But right now,
it's really about like platforming sex workers and sex worker stories.
So this is a story from a friend of ours who listens sometimes, and they used to be a pro dom and they worked in a dungeon. So we got a little quick backstory. In my 20s, I lived in New York and was very broke. I had started exploring kink and the kink scene with my partner of a few years before getting to New York. And so when I was on Craigslist looking for jobs, I saw a post for a pro dom at a local dungeon. I figured I might as well do that. The application for the job was just to write a detailed story about what I would do to a sub who loved golden showers in a session. I flexed my bachelor's and wrote a pretty epic story and emailed it to the mistress who had posted the Craigslist ad. I almost immediately got a very short, poorly written, and eager reply asking if I could meet for an in-person interview the next day. Obviously, I knew in my heart it was from a man and not a mistress, so I said I would meet for coffee and not at the dungeon, trying to avoid getting murdered. The interview process can be a story for another podcast. But anyway, our friend ended up getting hired at a dungeon, and here are some of their work stories. There were a few iconic clients at the dungeon. Some I met or had sessions with, and others I heard about in the lounge/locker room where the other pro doms and subs all hung out and chain smoked and waited for sessions.
To be a fly on that wall.
Just a bunch of hotties
sitting there, stroking their strap-ons, sharpening their whips.
We had a few human toilets who came in. That is exactly as it sounds. Everyone was stoked when Toilet Jim came in. His fetish was to be used as a toilet by all the mistresses. He would get set up in the back room with a hospital toilet bench over him, remove the bucket, and just lay on his back face up under it.
I'll draw Toilet Jim.
Toilet Jim getting memorialized. We'd all take turns going in and peeing on his face in exchange for a $20 bill from the stack of cash he had in his damp hand. When we heard he was coming in, one of us would run to Dwayne Reed and grab a few of those gallon water jugs so we could hydrate like crazy. The dungeon could really be slow on a weekday shift, so drinking water and earning $60 in your downtime was nice.
I hope they also were doing electrolytes.
So that is one thing with doing golden showers, is it's actually not that great to drink a ton of water in one go in preparation because you really fuck your body up.
Right.
So the best thing to do is just stay hydrated throughout the whole day. And you know what? I do think that client that I peed on really loved it because I stayed hydrated all day. I only had one drink beforehand, and I also, on top of water, drink a ton of coconut water. So stay hydrated.
You know, I don't know if I could pee on someone.
Are you a shy peer? Because I've seen you pee in the street so many times.
I didn't say it was a shy peer. I just don't want someone to know what my pee smells like.
That's fair.
It's not that it smells bad. I just don't want them to know.
Gatekeep. This is a story you've heard and you hate it, but I'm going to tell it.
God, I know what story this is.
One guy I'm glad I never met was the Tooth Fairy. He was known among the local dungeons for seeking out women who would let him extract a tooth in exchange for several $1,000s. Most of the gals I knew avoided him and felt bad for women desperate enough to reply to his ads that he put on Craigslist, since it was a pretty rough fucking exchange. That's fucking...
This is like a creepypasta.
This is a creepypasta.
This should be on Reddit, okay?
One mistress at Pandora's, where I worked, had a bad tooth and she was gonna have to get it pulled anyway, so she hit him up, got $4,000 and used it to pay for her actual dental work. Oh, that's so dark. That's so dark.
I just think of I just picture
it makes
old...
me kind of gag.
I know. I think about old London.
Yeah, that's exactly where it's...
Oh, come over here, ladies. We're gonna pull your teeth.
That's like the Ripper feeling. You know what? In Les Mis...
You know they did that in Les Mis times.
Well, didn't Eponine give a tooth?
She got her hair cut off.
Gave a tooth
Did she give a tooth?
Honestly,
version. I only saw Les Mis in theaters.
Rough. Sorry you had to do that.
I love watching the memes, though, of Russell Crowe trying to sing Prisoner 601. I don't know the words. I'm sorry. I don't know Les Mis. Okay. I stole some bread.
I know, both of them. I can't... Oh.
How many plays and musicals and movies are about someone stealing bread.
Oh, actually, every single one. That's the basis of modern theater is stealing bread. Annie, she stole some bread. Anything goes. Anything goes when you steal some bread.
Steal some bread.
Thoroughly Modern Millie.
Manhattan. I stole some bread.
She stole bread in her too-late town where the light is always red.
She stole some bread. That rhymes.
In a too-late town where I stole some bread. Last story.
Okay. You guys were still recovering from being sick. Okay, this is not okay.
Last one. Smoking Steven. This guy was brutal because it was such good money. We got $85 plus an hour, and most clients tipped on top of that, and Steven was almost always 3 hours or more and tipped well. You'd be wrecked at the end of the session because his fetish was being in elaborate bondage, which he did himself, wearing a ball gag with a tube in it so that a dom could chain smoke cigarettes and blow the smoke and ash into the tube. That's honestly pretty hot, but 3 hours is so long.
Was he okay?
Because I like to have a cigarette when I drink.
Yeah.
But I think the most I'll have in a bender is 3.
I can't even smoke one. I've tried.
I wonder if he evolved to vapes. Anyway, the reason it was actually 3+ hours because he wanted, aka his real kink, in my humble opinion, was to have a young hot woman trapped in a room with him so he could talk about his indie music collection and concert history. That's my hookup history.
That's sadomasochism there.
That's fucking dark.
That is dominating. I wanna push
You around.
Ken, we still love you.
I'm having war flashbacks. And by war, I mean being a teenager.
That's like the war. Right. World War Me, baby.
Just reminds me of all those memes of like a guy has to go do like a whole ayahuasca trip to realize things we girls realized at 14.
Guys with podcasts discussing things we talked about at 13-year-old slumber parties when we were humping our friends.
I had the unlucky combo of being a cute indie girl back then who also smoked, so the front desk woman would always tap me in. I'd be coughing for days, but I would usually make my whole month's rent in one session. Wow, powerful.
Okay, thank you guys so much for listening and or watching. We appreciate all of you. If you don't mind giving us a little subscribe wherever you're listening.
A subs.
Give us a little subs.
A little likey.
A little likey.
Comment if you want to see feet.
All right. Well,
bye.
We love and miss you. See you later.
You know.
Do we even know any straight people?
I think allegedly, but I don't